Welcome to Veterans Perspective, and today we need to discuss the situation in Minnesota and the shooting by an ICE agent on an American citizen that happened on January 7th, 2026. I wasn't planning on filming today or releasing a podcast video. I usually don't do two in a week. But we need to have a serious conversation about what happened yesterday. If you haven't seen the news, January 7th, a federal agent shot and killed a woman named Renee Nicole Good during an ICE operation in Minnesota, Minneapolis, South Minneapolis. Reports are flying around. Department of Homeland Security is using terms like domestic terrorist. The news is doing what the news does. You probably can't believe a word that they're saying, right? There's claims that she's weaponizing the vehicle, trying to run him over. There's different angles of the video that prove each side, all that stuff. I've watched each one hundreds of times, right? They popped up on every single social media feed that I have, and you guys have probably seen them as well, okay? I'm not here to dissect the PR spin. We'll talk about it a little bit, but I'm not here to dissect it because you guys know how I feel about it. Both sides are liars, okay? They're doing what they do so that they're right when they're both liars, okay? I'm here to look at the action that was taken by a federal law enforcement officer against a proven American citizen. Okay, we have a federal agent who decided that the appropriate response to a citizen in a moving vehicle was to open fire. Now, before I give you what I think, I want to be very clear. I agree with border security. I agree that people who are in this country illegally should be held accountable. I disagree wholeheartedly with how it's being done. Okay, I've made that very clear several times. Okay, not a fan of how this is going down. Okay, it's dehumanizing, it's unnecessary, it's probably wasting taxpayer dollars, but that's way down the list. Okay, but this is separate from that now. Okay? I disagree with that decision. First off, you don't shoot into moving vehicles, okay? This is a tactical argument here, okay? Rules of engagement for people in the military and people in law enforcement are fundamentally different for the most part. It depends on situation, right? It depends on if you're in combat, if you're not in combat. I know a lot of friends of mine are former military police, and it's different for them when you're on base, when you're not on base, when you're on base in a combat zone. It's different, okay? But you don't shoot into moving vehicles when you're a civilian law enforcement officer. It does not happen. It literally does not happen. I want you to sit back objectively. Forget your political leanings for just a few minutes. Okay? Sit back for just a moment and think, when was the last time you remember a police officer shooting into a moving vehicle? Because I bet you can't remember one incident. And now some of you in the comments says, oh, but he's a federal officer. It's different. They have different rules of engagement, different ROE. It does not matter. It does not matter. That officer, agent, shot a weapon in a neighborhood with children present into a moving vehicle. Now, well trained, Sure. Even well-trained people miss shots. Bullets go through bodies. There's called entrance wounds and exit wounds. Bullets don't discriminate who they hit when they exit. A member of the federal government shot a citizen of the United States and killed her. That is not okay. The last time something like this happened, we started a fucking revolution. I know that we don't care about U.S. history anymore, right? We don't teach it in schools. We don't give a fuck about it anymore. But guess what? I used to teach it, and I still do over on my history channel, Chronicles Across Continents. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a link down in the description. There's my plug for this video. Look up the Boston Massacre. Someone from the government shot someone, killed him, and we were like, fuck you, Britain. Now it's time for war. Now, some people are going to say that person should have followed orders. Okay, fine. I agree with you. But the end result should not have been the firing of a weapon by the police, in this case an ICE agent, into a moving vehicle. At the worst, it should have been a vehicle police chase. At the worst. Or you let her go because you have her damn license plate and you know her name. And when you know her name and have her license plate, you know where she lives. And then you can say, and then you can go to her house, say, hey, what the hell? You violated this law, this law, and this law. We need to have a conversation about this. Hold you accountable. You know, the law. Come on. When the first choice is lethal force by the federal government against its citizens, we are no longer governed. I'm sorry. We are no longer governed. We are ruled. And I don't want to live in a society where I am ruled. The job of law enforcement and anyone wearing a badge is de-escalation. If a vehicle is moving, your duty is to step out of the path, to contain, to reassess. Your duty is not to stand your ground and to execute a citizen because the situation got chaotic. That is a failure of leadership. That is a failure of discipline. That is a failure of protocol. That is a failure of execution. That ICE agent failed at his job. That ICE agent should be held accountable for his actions. That ICE agent murdered a citizen. Say what you will down in the comments. But as of right now, January 8th, I'm recording this at 8:10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time where I live in Arizona. That is my opinion. Now, could different facts come of the case about why that person drove away? Sure. Sure. That's what some of you don't understand. Facts change, right? That's what the media doesn't understand. They like to think that they're the facts when their job should be to present the facts. Nobody needs to twist my words. I believe in this country. I believe in the United States of America that we should be the light upon the hill. We haven't been for a very long time, and no, not since Trump was elected. That's stupid. We haven't been for a very long time. We have a right to secure our borders as a country, just like every other country. Okay? I believe that holding illegal immigrants accountable is a necessary mission. I do not support how we are doing that mission. I support ICE as an institution existing. I do not support how they are being deployed by the powers that be. I cannot and I will not support a method of operation where federal agents feel entitled to shoot American citizens in the streets. I will not support that. There is a right way to enforce the law, and then there's a tyrannical way. Shooting first and asking questions later? Pretty sure we just rolled into Venezuela and stuck a dude in jail who operated that way. Just throwing that out there. We do not operate that way as a country. Or we should not operate that way as a country. And again, if you think this is about modern politics, you don't know your history. We've been here before. We literally started a revolution because we refused to accept a government that used lethal force against its own citizens. Boston Massacre, 1770. British regulars, the federal enforcement of their day, were in a chaotic situation. They could not handle people protesting against them. There were people lining that street protesting against ICE, citizens who have a right to protest against what is happening. I may not agree with some of what they're saying, but guess what? They have a right to do it. That's what we are as a nation. They were facing resistance, but the moment they decided to fire their muskets into the crowd, they lost their legitimacy. The moment that ICE agent decided to fire his weapon into that vehicle, legitimacy was lost. It doesn't matter what the justification was in the moment. It doesn't matter that they felt threatened. What mattered was that a standing army killed 5 citizens in the streets during the Boston Massacre. That action proved to the colonists that the government viewed them as targets, not as people. And this should be viewed in the same way. A lot of you moan, bitch, complain, and cry that you want to start the revolution. Here you go. Here you go. None of you will, though. None of you will. I mean, first off, I think you're cowards. You say it, but you take no action. Your government killed a citizen. Whether you agree with what they were protesting or not, your government killed a citizen. Your federal government murdered a citizen. So in conclusion, we hold our military to strict rules of engagement in war zones, right? We have ROEs, rules of engagement. We should expect at least some level of discipline from federal agents that are operating in American cities. I can guarantee you that when the National Guard was deployed into cities, the first thing that was discussed was ROE. I can guarantee it. Guarantee it. Why isn't that the case with the federal agencies? Because that doesn't seem to be the case. So to the agency, ICE, to the agent involved, you have a duty to de-escalate. People are going to protest what you are doing, and you already knew that because it's been happening. You have a duty to preserve life. That is your job. And when you choose to shoot instead, you aren't enforcing the law, you are betraying the law. You can have law and order without turning our streets into a firing range. If you want target practice, go to the range. We the people are not your fucking targets. And we should demand nothing less. President Trump, you have some explaining to do. I have defended your actions, and I will continue to defend your actions should they warrant defending. But I will also hold you accountable for this kind of bullshit. I expect this ICE agent to be held accountable. Will I hold my breath? No. Because just like the members of the Boston Massacre, maybe only a revolution will solve the problem. Thank you for listening.